Welcome into CBS Sports HQ. Week 5 of the NFL season is here, and the injury train just keeps on rolling as fantasy managers trying to cope and adjust. As you take a look at some of the notable Week 5 injuries, there are, of course, plenty more. But notables: Malik Nabers out for the Giants, Jonathan Taylor out for the Colts, Brian Robinson game-time decision. But Austin Eckler's been cleared from that concussion protocol, so he's back. So there will at least be one back in that Commanders backfield that's healthy. Khalil Shakir out for the Bills as they look to rebound, and Trey McBride expected to play for the Cardinals. All right, let's welcome in fantasy football expert Heath Cummings from Fantasy Football Today for more on this. Let's start with 2-2 Indianapolis at Trevor Banks Stadium to take on the 0-4 Jags. Quarterback Anthony Richardson is questionable. He's got that oblique problem, Heath, but no Jonathan Taylor, as we saw there. He's out with that ankle injury. If you went with that Colts stack in fantasy, now you're scrambling to grab what, Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon at this point?
We are really hoping we don't have to grab Joe Flacco. Although, if Joe Flacco starts, we will like Michael Pittman more. We will like Josh Downs more. We'll like the pass catchers more in this game because Joe Flacco throws more, runs less, sucks up less of the offensive fantasy production himself. If Richardson starts, I'm going to view him as a borderline QB1. I would start him over someone like Patrick Mahomes, who's not been a borderline QB1 so far this season. But Taylor, really the big story. We had some optimism early in the week that maybe this high ankle injury would be just a mild one. There's no such thing. If it's a high ankle sprain, you're probably going to miss at least 1 week. You should make sure that Trey Sermon's rostered in your league. There's a decent chance you should start Trey Sermon in your league. He's already scored a touchdown this season. We've seen him in the past, put up like a 16 carry, 80-yard performance. He's not going to do a whole lot in the passing game, but like Pittman and Downs, will project more targets for Sermon if Flacco starts at quarterback. If it's Richardson, you're viewing Sermon as a high-end flex, low-end borderline number 2 running back.
All right, let's go to the 1-3 Giants, who are also missing a pretty good stack, and rookie wide receiver Malik Nabers out with the concussion. Devin Singletary has the groin problem. He's listed as doubtful. Is it Tyrone Tracy time, or are you looking elsewhere?
Well, first and foremost, it's Wan'Dale Robinson time, and that's not necessarily even related to the Malik Nabers injury. This Giants offense has been extremely concentrated so far this season, with 65% of their targets going to either Malik Nabers or Wan'Dale Robinson. Malik Nabers isn't going to be there. Robinson's not going to see a 65% target share, but he might see half that. He's a number 2 wide receiver for me in full PPR leagues, a good flex in half PPR. I'm not as optimistic about Tracy. I do expect him to lead this backfield, share a little bit with Eric Gray. If the Giants have a short yardage goal line area carry, it might be Daniel Jones that gets that. View Tracy as kind of a mid-range flex, definitely behind Trey Sermon for me this week.
It might be someone I may have to look at in one of my lineups. All right, let's stay in the NFC East. Commanders running back Brian Robinson, we saw there on the full screen. He is listed as questionable, but Austin Eckler has been cleared. No designation for him. I have Eckler in fantasy, so Heath, is he a must start as they welcome Cleveland?
Well, he might be a must start if Brian Robinson's out, but if Brian Robinson plays, Brian Robinson's been the lead back in this system. So if Robinson's in, and right now we're still expecting him to play, he's a high-end number 2 running back. You absolutely start him. View Eckler, who has scored double-digit fantasy points in every game that he's participated in this year, as either a low-end number 2 or preferably a high-end flex who is better in PPR. And then the name you see on the far right there, Jeremy McNichols, had a great game in Eckler's absence last week, and we kind of just ignored it because we thought, Eckler was in the concussion protocol. Usually you come back after missing 1 game. McNichols probably won't matter. But if Robinson's out, then all of a sudden Eckler becomes must start, and McNichols moves into that flex role. So if you picked up McNichols, don't drop him just because Eckler's back. Let's see if Robinson plays.
Well, you're going down those depth charts for sure. Picking up some of these players when these injuries start to pile up, certainly on one team. The 2-2 Las Vegas Raiders coming off that win over Cleveland. Running back Zamir White had his largest output of the season, but head coach Antonio Pierce said Friday he is likely doubtful with the groin problem for their game versus the Broncos. He's questionable right now. So go grab Alexander Madison, Heath?
Alexander Mattison should absolutely be rostered. Now, there's a couple of problems here for Mattison. You see, I'm not quite as optimistic here as Jamie and Dave are. The problems are, one, he's facing a Denver defense that has just been outstanding in basically all facets of the game. So it's not a good matchup. It's not a high implied point total for the Raiders. And then Amir Abdullah is also on this roster. And what we've seen early in the year is that Zamir White's been in that early downs role. Mattison kind of the change of pace guy or handling passing downs. Abdullah has always been a passing downs guy in his career, so I'm a little bit concerned if Mattison moves into that first and second down role. He loses some of the third down work to Abdullah. So view Mattison kind of like Tyrone Tracy as a flex option. He might be your best option if you lost Zamir White, but not someone I'm super excited about starting.
Well, and certainly someone who, if he's available, good luck. 77% rostered based on the numbers that we have. All right, lastly, Buffalo wide receiver Khalil Shakir. He's out. He's got the ankle issue. They have the Texans in this bounce-back game with Shakir out. I mean, there's a number of choices you can still look at here in this Buffalo offense, aren't there, Heath?
Well, that's kind of the problem, right? There's a number of choices. None of them have really done anything to give you any confidence in starting them. The names you see here, Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel, probably the two top options. Samuel plays more of the Shakir role, but we've never really seen him succeed the way Shakir has early this season. Coleman would be my favorite Bills wide receiver to start if I had to start one this week, but this has been a really run-heavy attack from the Bills. This is a bad matchup against the Houston Texans. We've already seen this line move 1 point. The Bills now down to a 23-point implied total. So Dalton Kincaid, probably the only Bills pass catcher I'm really wanting to start. Of course, you're starting Josh Allen. You start James Cook. You start Dalton Kincaid. If you're starting a Bills wide receiver, you're really throwing a dart this week.
All right, our fantasy football expert, Heath Cummings from Fantasy Football Today, our Friday injury update as we get those fantasy lineups ready. And be sure you're keeping track of Heath and the gang on Fantasy Football Today because they'll be keeping you updated as we head towards the games on Sunday. And then, of course, on Sunday morning, latest episode giving you early start sits. That, of course, will be updated as the injury designations continue to evolve over the next day or so. You can download and follow Fantasy Football Today wherever you get your podcasts or scan that QR code. You can get that latest episode right now.